Okay, well, hello everyone out there. I'm glad to see so many people join this webinar today, and to continue the conversation that has been going on in this country for quite some time, and we're now getting national conversations moved to another level. So this is so amazing. Thank you, Emily and Bossin and Helen and everyone for allowing me to come tonight. I'm so excited and to represent USOW, United States of Women. So just a little bit about the United States of Women. We are a 501c3 organization that gives a megaphone to gender equality. We are here to not only serve women, but people who are part of the movement for the women's agenda. We want to be able to support other organizations and sort of make sure that the movement and conversation is moving forward into a positive space of change. It's been a long time since we've been talking about some of these issue areas, and it's time to put some action. So we're putting passion into action. That's something we like to say at USOW. I love it. And we're going to continue that momentum. A little about me. I'm from a little city, well, not so little, called Waukegan, Illinois. So I know my family is watching back there. So hello, everyone in Waukegan, Illinois. A little shout out, a little plug for the city too. So a little suburb of Chicago. Worked on the Hill for a while for a few members, and then also worked for the DC government, both on the local organization of the council, and then in the agency Department of Human Services. And I heard about this position from a friend who told me that I would be a perfect candidate because not only do I like to engage with women, I like to encourage, but with a passion and action, my passion is to motivate women and get women involved in their own legislative matters that we're not a part of, having a place at the table that we're normally not at. And Congress is the #1 place, the White House is another, you just name it, a boardroom, we're not there, and we should be there. We deserve to be there, and we're gonna be there in more numbers starting today. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it, Renee. I'm so fired up already. Obviously, we like to have fun here, and I'm really jazzed to be working more with Renee this year. So just to give you a little context, I actually started off my career as a grassroots organizer. I had the privilege and the opportunity at a young age, fresh out of college, to serve as the youngest state director in the nation for a little organization you might have heard of, Obama for America, also known as Organizing for America, right as newly elected President Obama was starting to really advocate for some major reforms and policies and Supreme Court justices and all kinds of good stuff. So I got to run around the state of Rhode Island. So hi to all my Rhode Island friends who are tuning in tonight. And right, my alma mater is what got me there. So thanks, Brown. So I was organizing for years there to help individuals take ownership of their communities, own their power to make their voices heard, and advocate for the candidates and the policies that they believed in. To be frank, though, during that same time, for those 3 sort of semester sprint-like years after graduation, I had lost my own ability to advocate for what I needed. I was losing touch with my own sense of agency and voice and my own power, which is ironic because that's exactly what I was trying to help other people do. So during those really tumultuous years, I wasn't taking care of my basic needs, and I bottomed out and burnt out before the age of 25. And as a perfectionist, overachieving, high ambition person, that was a really challenging moment in my life to recognize that the way I was working wasn't actually working at all. And I realized when I was finding myself sort of so exhausted that I was slumped over my steering wheel, driving through my alma mater and watching these students roll their bags home for Thanksgiving break, filled with a jealous rage that I just wanted to trade places with them. I knew how to master that domain, but I wanted someone to give me permission to take better care of myself. It was then that I decided to turn some of that passion and advocacy work that I've been exhibiting for other people to myself. And I know that as women, we are not conditioned to take care of ourselves first. We're not conditioned to take care of ourselves at all, right? And so we make really good caretakers and supportive small d democratic leaders in all kinds of wonderful roles. But what I also want to bring to the table for tonight's discussion, and frankly, the transformation that I experienced in my own life, is what helped me or inspired me to start Bossed Up and help other women do the same, is to also approach tonight's discussion with an eye towards sustainable success. So let's not burn out in the long and arduous fight we have ahead of ourselves, right? Let's team up together and let's take care of ourselves as we take care of those around us. As we fight for a better future, let's not forget to put our oxygen masks on first, because we need to sustain ourselves. And really that's what Bossed Up's philosophy is all about. That's why we're helping women craft happy, healthy, and sustainable career paths. So I'm so stoked to tune in, or have you all tune in with the two of us, because let me tell you, Renee Johnson is a woman who does that very well, so that she and I actually teamed up years ago. I featured Renee as a marvelous trainer at one of our Bossed Up boot camp training programs here in DC.
That is true, with assertive communication.
Yeah.
I still remember everything about it, and I assert within my communication.
So I'm actually just off of a Bossed Up boot camp this weekend too here in DC. So if any Bossed Up boot camp alums are also tuning in tonight, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, y'all.
Okay, I think we're ready to start it off. If y'all are ready, I think we're ready.
We are so ready.
Great. All right.
We want to talk about what happened over the course of the last 7 days, right? Or actually, we can say 8.
Yeah.
Right? So the last week and a day, there's been a lot of things that happened in this country. And one amazing thing that happened last Saturday, we had 3.3 million women march across the U.S. For the Women's March. And I don't want to just say women, there were men, there were babies, there were people of all different demographics and nationalities, ethnicities that were there that took place in part of this amazing march. It was the largest march in U.S. history, and I mean, by far, it was the most engaging march that I've actually ever seen in my life, personally, and I'm pretty sure for most of you as well. There were more than 500 marches organized, and even almost on every continent. I don't know if you guys saw the viral video or photo of Antarctica.
Yeah.
And if you're marching in Antarctica, you gotta understand that the severity of this issue isn't just limited to the United States.
Right.
This is a global issue of how we are treated within every country. And just a little reach about USOW, of course we gotta do a little plug. We had volunteers in over 20 cities signing up people to continue the engagement. And we signed over 22,000 people into this network so that we can keep the momentum going. It's just amazing, all the amazing things that people are willing to do, and we see it again today with marches going on in airports.
Right. I just came back from the White House this afternoon because there are a lot of protests to go to right now.
Yes.
So lace up, baby.
Yeah,
right?
and let's keep doing it.
Right. And I'm so excited for y'all to learn more about the United States of Women and the great work that they're doing. So we'll be teasing a lot of that good stuff. But first,
well, yeah, and speaking of USOW, great plug.
Right.
Here's our video. This was our launch video prior to the summit last year. And we're not sure if people have seen it, but we do know that right now it has gone viral with over 11 million views today. Like, that's huge.
Right.
So do you want to go ahead and play
I want to make sure that we don't forget to celebrate our wins.
Yes.
So on the cusp of just coming off of last weekend, let's take a moment to hear a little bit more about what the USOW, the United States of Women, is all about and how many great allies we have fighting the good fight with us.
There's a lot.
We are the United States of Women.
The United States of Women.
The United States of Women.
And when we do better, everyone does better. You with us? Then listen up.
When we work, we get paid.
The same as everyone else.
Doing the same job. We will be the boss.
Of a company.
Of our company. Of a whole empire. Sounds good, right? We are United States of Women.
Somos el Estado Unido de la Mujer. We are in charge of our own bodies. Every beautiful part.
Every powerful part. Every which way. we want to use them.
It's our choice when to say yes
And when to say no. Because duh. Literally duh.
I love that.
We're earning more college degrees than ever. We're coding like it's nobody's business, doing whatever we want.
Like it's nobody's business.
Because we have ideas.
Game-changing ideas.
World-changing ideas. This is our movement.
Turning struggle into strength.
We're not done. We're definitely not done. So when we stand with us.
We are the United States of Women.
The United States
of Women. And we stand stronger when we stand together.
Today, we'll change tomorrow.
Together, we got this. We got this.
All right. I'm fired up. I am so fired up.
We got this.
I don't know if it's just us, but hopefully you're doing a little dance party over there as well. And now you can count yourselves amongst the 11 million who've seen it. That's awesome video. So thanks for sharing that with us, Renee. I love that.
So why did you march?
Right. We want to hear from you, right? Because I think that video does a great job of showing just how diverse women's issues can actually be, right? We're not all the same, and pretending that we are would be foolish.
It would be.
And so we want to take a moment here. I'm going to actually pull up a little bit of a poll and ask you, if you marched last weekend, if you supported the marches you saw on display last weekend, tell us what issues brought you out, right? Like really what motivated you to join us. You can take the poll right now, and yes, you can vote for more than one. So feel free to start clicking away on your screen, and you can.
Well, just also be mindful that we couldn't, of course, put everything.
Right.
There's millions of reasons why people decided to march. And then there's also reasons why people decided not to march.
Right.
So if you didn't march and you want to, definitely put that into our comment section as to why. And of course, let's be real. There are people out there who decided not to, but it's okay because they still are part of the movement.
Right.
And we have to just figure a way to bring these people in and address the areas that they feel that are being discussed for them.
So I'm curious, right? I want to see what are the issues at the top of mind for all of us. And 82% under women's rights. That sounds about right. We still have votes trickling in.
Oh, wow. We have a lot of votes trickling in.
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing around racism, xenophobia, systemic oppression, police brutality. That doesn't say brutality after it, but it should. I guess my answer was too long for the actual poll.
But you guys got the point.
Healthcare and reproductive freedom. I'm not surprised there at all. Awesome. Indigenous people's rights are 25%. I love it. So I think this just goes to show that as the United States of Women, there are lots of issues that we carry with us, right? There's lots of causes and campaigns and issue areas that we're focused on, but I think underlying a lot of this is just an honoring and an acknowledgement of our diversity.
And not only that, I just want to go ahead and send a quick shout out to the organizers of the Women's March, like Janae Ingram, Bob Bland, Tamika Mallory, Lena Sarsor, and Carmen Perez. Like, you guys did an amazing job. We definitely appreciate you guys pushing the movement to a whole nother level. And without your hard work and determination to making sure that this thing happened, we wouldn't be having these conversations right now. So thank you and salute to you.
All right, queens. So we're going to be sharing a lot more resources with you tonight. So bust out your notebook, get ready to jot some things down. We've got some raised hands, which I love. Helen's going to be flagging all those questions, y'all, which is great. But we are going to be sharing a ton of resources with you. And frankly, the Women's March website comes up time and time again because we could not understate, or we can't overstate, rather, just how game-changing that was last weekend. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking part in our poll. I'm really excited to see the issues that are on Women's Rights Win. I like that there's a winner of a poll. This is cute. It's just a poll.
They're all winners.
They're all winners.
They're all necessary issues that we have to address.
Totally. Okay. We should be back in the slides now. So let's see what's next. Oh, right. A little topic called intersectional feminism. No big deal, right? So this is an ambitious, I think, endeavor here that we have tonight, which is to unpack and underscore the importance of intersectionality as we move forward. And here's why I feel so strongly about making our best attempt to do so, with the acknowledgement that there's no way we could cover what really needs to have like an entire semester's worth of dialogue to cover.
People can get a PhD and this subject matter.
Right. So let me just say I bow down to those of you who know tons more about this already. But last weekend shined a bright light on women's rights and on our unwillingness to go back to the 1950s, unwillingness to be quiet, unwillingness to stand on the sidelines. And it also shone a light, it also displayed, there we go, it put a big spotlight on the areas in which feminism has traditionally left some marginalized groups on the margins, right? Has sort of historically really let women of color down. And I think you've probably seen this incredible photo of Angela Peoples that's gone viral that makes a lot of us uncomfortable, I think, or can bring up some discomfort.
Or it's like, yes,
hell yeah,
yes,
right,
yes.
I think it makes a lot of white people uncomfortable.
And it's time that it happens.
Right. So we have to acknowledge just how we got here and how feminism isn't just women all coming together as one homogenous voting bloc or one group of people who all feel the same things about the same issues. So let's peel back the layers on this a little bit. I want to first talk a bit about intersectionality and what that big word means. And frankly, it's actually got a pretty simple definition. When we're talking about intersectionality, we're talking about acknowledging that gender bias or discrimination based on gender alone is not operating in some kind of vacuum. It never is. So when we think about women's rights or when we think about sexism, we can't pretend like those isms don't intersect with other isms like racism, class discrimination, discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, ability, geography, socioeconomic status, you name it. We as human beings, unfortunately, for better and worse, like over the millennium of human development, are always coming up with new ways to differentiate between us and them. And unfortunately, when it comes to feminism, we have traditionally, like the feminist movement has traditionally really been focused on white, middle-class women's issues. And we can't change the game.
I'm making this face because I am in agreement. And I cannot concur more.
Right, exactly. And I'm so glad to be hosting this conversation with you because I know we can keep it real. And I also have learned a lot from you and from a lot of other Black feminists and women of color who are fighting for rights alongside like lots of different kinds of women. So as we move forward, if we don't respect and honor and acknowledge the differences in how gender discrimination or discrimination writ large affects each of us, we're not going to be able to sustain this change, and we're not going to be inclusive in getting the kind of people power that we need to push an agenda forward. And what would it be to push an agenda forward that doesn't actually move the needle on all women's lives, right? We need to actually create a rising tide that lifts all boats, I think, when it comes to fighting for what we believe in. Yeah, when it comes to women.
And I think now people are starting to see that more, and it's more common of an idea. And I think, thank God, I know generations past, I think it was, well, it doesn't really affect me, so I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's a little, I think it's a little less, it's harder to be ignorant today. Yeah, because like, I think social media and the internet has made the bar a little lower. So let's talk about what we can do on an individual basis to actually bring intersectional feminism into our lives. But before I go there, I want to let you know that I'm going to be posting this slideshow publicly and making this publicly available tonight. So you're going to get all the links, all the embedded videos, all the good stuff that's in here. You'll have that to watch later at your convenience. But I had to shout out to these three incredible YouTube creators who've covered the topic of intersectional feminism in really robust ways as well that I thought have done a tremendous job. So Akila obviously is a YouTuber at Smoothie Freak is her username. She's got an amazing metaphor having to do with pizza, so check it out, that she uses to explain intersectional feminism. And then, of course, Lacey Green and Francesca Ramsey, the MTV Braless YouTube channel, also have a great video that I have learned a ton from. So check those two out as things that you can easily share and learn from yourselves and just help spread the gospel of intersectionality.
Let it bless you.
All right, so how can we be good allies? And yes, white ladies, I'm looking at you, right?
I mean, I'm not gonna say it,
But yeah.
we all need allies, and
Right.
we all work better when we work together
Yeah.
and kind of set aside those barriers. We all bring different things to the table,
Mhm.
but it always makes a great feast, right?
Yeah, I love that.
You're welcome.
And like you were saying earlier, everyone has some privilege that they bring to the table.
Yes.
So let's talk about how we can move forward in an intersectional way. So if you're about to go to a protest, if you're about to go post something on Facebook to try to motivate and inspire other people, if you're about to make your voice heard, let's start by keeping these three things in mind. One, examine your own privilege. Understanding what makes us, each of us, in a position of power or privilege is important, even though as women writ large, we're in a system that's patriarchal and gives men more privilege than we do. And we could, again, spend a whole semester talking about that. That doesn't mean we're all on the same level here. That doesn't mean we're all operating from the same starting block. So let's not pretend all of our experiences are the same. Differences are valid, honor and respect them. That's a good place to start, right?
I agree. And being able to voice your opinion in itself
Right.
is a privilege in some
Right.
places, because there are countries
Yeah.
where you can't say anything wrong or in opposition
Yeah.
than what is already being put out there.
Which is all the more reason why we here tonight have to use our privilege to put it to good use, that's right where we're getting to, right? So let's make sure we're listening to others with less privilege. So that means, like, it's hard for me too. I'm a talker. Y'all know this about me already. Some of us
I'm
are,
not. No.
some of us are talkers here. It means sometimes shutting up and sitting down. It means passing the microphone, right? Being cognizant of making sure that others are speaking and being heard, and that you're raising and elevating the voices of those with less privilege.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility. With privilege, put it to good use.
Exactly.
So thank
Be
you.
responsible about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me on this webinar so we can really talk about it. I think that's important.
Yes.
Cool.
Glad to be here.
That makes sense?
Makes a great sense.
I hope
to
we
me.
did intersectionality justice in the brief time that we had. So
And we're definitely having room for questions and answers, right?
yes, in fact, we're right on schedule. So we're gonna make sure there's plenty of time at the end. Ask away in the Q&A section, in the chat section. Helen's flagging questions for us to tackle right away in the Q&A portion. And you can ask away at the very end as well. But now it's time for us to get practical. So we marched. It's time to organize. It's time to empower, right? I love this phrase that the United States of Women is running with, right? This sort of march, organize, empower. Let's break it down with 5 steps that you can start taking right now.
So one major step, I think we all learned this with privilege, and most of us have probably went to college, higher education, have some sort of degree, have something that we have all had to study, which is what? Educating ourselves,
Right.
so that we can be experts at that subject matter. So the same thing is applied here. Educate yourself. Treat yourself, educate yourself.
Right.
Treat yourself to a book. And as you see listed, there are definitely some great reads here. And, educating yourself also includes like talking to your parents, kids, friends, neighbors, people who are different and look different than you. It's not sometimes great to always go into the same vortex that you're in to talk to the same people who are homogeneous to you.
Right.
How are you going to learn and expand anything? Well, you have to step outside of yourself. And you have to use your voice online to inform and inspire people, like we just mentioned. We have that privilege. We have that right. And we've seen people across the country right now doing something like this. Right. And it's very, very inspiring, because I've read some people's posts and their Twitter tweets. I'm sorry, I'm not a Twitter person. Tweets. I'm an Instagram person, so I've seen their photos. very visual. And I just see so many things that have educated me on all of this whole process of what's going on nationally as well. And then make it personal. Put it to context to who you are and what your goals are and what you can do to help share your story. Because your story sometimes helps someone else understand the movement and how personal it is for you. Because everyone has an opinion, but when you make it personal, it kind of puts it aside of an opinion and lets someone see from a different vantage point.
And how does it affect you? How does the current status of women in the world, women in our country, affect you, right? As human beings, the way we think, the way we emote is through narrative. So your personal narrative, your personal story is more powerful than you think.
So, tons. And just think about how many times you told someone something small or a small story about yourself that blew their mind in their perception of you. Same thing applies. And then also check out Melissa Harris-Perry's Black Feminism syllabus. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think these are some of our favorite books that we have on our top reading list right now, but there's so many good things out there, especially if you are realizing that intersectional feminism is a way that you want to really beef up your education and empowerment. That Black Feminism syllabus is a really good place to start. I linked to it in the slideshow, which you'll be getting there.
Yes.
Sound good? We
Sounds like a plan.
All right, it's time to make sure that your voice is heard. Last weekend, we undoubtedly made our voices heard. We were deafening with the people power that we brought to the streets, and that is something to be proud of, something to be in awe of, like I am. And it got me fired up again. I'm not gonna lie, I was not feeling so hot between Election Day and last weekend. Last weekend lit a fire in me again, and I want to make sure that we carry that torch forward. So here are a couple places where you can make sure that you are making your voice heard. I mentioned earlier that we were going to link you back to the Women's March official website. This is the time to go there. It's womensmarch.com/100. So the numerals 100. That's where they're going to be directing your efforts into 10 actions over the next 100 days. So the first 100 days of the presidency right now, here are 10 actions that they're going to direct your focus towards. I believe the first one is printing out a postcard and making that, sending a message to your elected officials. The United States of Women is organizing a week of action specifically around our upcoming congressional recess. Now, that's a really important time here. This is a nonpartisan endeavor, but just to be clear.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear also what a recess is, because some people may not know. So Congress has breaks, if you will. So if you remember elementary school, you got recess, you got spring break. Well, Congress gets a break. And they do not come to Washington, D.C., but they use this week-long time to do work in their district or in their state for senators. So it just depends on which side of the congressional seat that you want to work with. But that's essentially what it is. And that means that's an opportunity for people and local communities to go out, educate yourself before you go to a member of Congress, of course, and say, we want X. And they're like, but I already do X. Make sure you educate yourself and know exactly what you're asking of that member, and if it's not something that they're already doing. But that's one thing that we want to encourage people to do, as well as there's letter writing campaigns. There's tons of events that people are definitely trying to get up and going. So check out our website at theunitedstatesofwomen.org. It's listed here, as you see, and make sure that you sign up for your local community and get engaged. It's time to organize, and now we're empowering.
It's crazy because 30,000 people, if I got my number right, 30,000 people have already signed up to take part in the week of action. So get on board, y'all. I think the work they're doing is great, and what Renee and her team are going to help you figure out is how to explicitly communicate these women's issues and how important they are to your members of Congress, to your senators, to your representatives while they're home. So don't let that opportunity be squandered. Make sure you sign up now at theunitedstatesofwomen.org for their week of action. And that's where Renee's going to get you more information, and her team's going to get you lots more details on events coming up and all kinds of good stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then also what we're doing is the Amaze t-shirt, which you just see displayed. March, organize, empower. Because this is a mantra we want people to remember. And I have to give a shout out, of course, to the USLW team, to Jen Brown, Taylor Barnes, Rachel Burnham, and Tara McMahon, because they've done an amazing job of getting this going. And this week, just to let you all know, within the next 24 hours, we are splitting the proceeds of our shirts with Muslim Girl. So take what you will. I'm dropping it. Pick it up. What I'm saying to you, definitely get you a shirt today, because we want to not only assist others by going to airports and protesting, but we also want to assist people who are going through things now. And Muslim Girl is able to do that, and they've been doing that for since the creation of their organization. So let's step up and put our movement where our mouths are.
Put our wallets where our mouths are. And plus, you get the sweet shirt while you're at it, and all the proceeds go to a good cause. You were splitting the proceeds between Muslim Girl, an amazing advocacy organization, and the United States of Women. So you're making that advocacy work possible, and you're getting a sweet t-shirt along the way. So omaze.com/empower. And then
well, and just a quick side note, people are probably going to ask, well, what is USLW going to do with the money that they raise? So what we're going to do is continue programming that we do. So if you actually were here in DC for the March, you would know the day after we did a day 2 training, which was amazing. Like, it was like, if I was over, I'm like, it's amazing. It was fantastic. We had women from all over the country come, who were still already here for the March, who were looking for other things to do and how to change that passion into action. And they came, they marched, and then we organized. So we were giving them tools that they needed to take back to their local community. And we want to do something similar like this in the future. So these dollars help us with programs to bring to local communities.
Which we are going to be announcing more about real soon. So stay tuned.
Always keep a lookout for United States of Women.
And you'll be getting an email from me too, real soon, which is very exciting. So keep in mind that finding protests to continue making your voice heard, one protest is not going to do it for this movement. I'm so glad that so many of us made our voices heard and, moved our feet. I think the statistic was that 1 out of every 100 Americans protested. That's like the ratio, because that's so many people that come out. We need to keep those numbers up as other protests continue to be relevant and to be looking for those kinds of people power, that kind of people power. So politicians are hosting events in their district during that week of action, and there are protests happening. You can keep track of them on social media sites and in your local newspapers or patch services or whatever it might be. So stay tuned and stay plugged in.
Yes, and definitely, of course, another plug, United States of Women, we definitely retweet as many amazing events that we hear about nationally. So definitely log on to Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, social media. We got it covered, because we want to make sure that we're being the megaphone for everyone.
I love it. I'm like on Twitter right now. So if you see me having fun, that's what's happening. Okay. So step 3 on 5 actions that you can take right now. We've already covered educating yourself, and others, making your voice heard in all of these great ways. Now let's talk about growing your influence for a second here. And this is where I think my inner community organizer is coming out.
Let her out.
All right, so the title community organizer is taken. It is not given. So keep that in mind, You are a community organizer. You are the hub, the grassroots organizer that you've been waiting for. Think of it this way. Organizers grow their power by growing their reach. So the amount of people that you're communicating with, that you're bringing out with you to events, that you're asking for support on campaigns and issues and letter writing and donating and buying t-shirts off of Omaze or whatever it might be, the more people that you're connected to, and I'm talking about real connections, not Twitter followers, all those are fun too, the more power you have. This is about people power. So growing your influence is not an ego trip. It is not just about your personal brand. This is not about growing your power for vanity's sake. This is about growing your influence, becoming an influencer so that you can promote and push forward the issues and the agendas that are valuable and important to you. There are people out there that that know you, who are waiting for this information and the marching orders from you. So be that person, step up as a leader, take responsibility for becoming more of an influencer in your own community. And there's a couple of different ways that we're helping people do that. Or we're encouraging folks to do that.
Yeah.
Do you want to share some of this?
Well, I think one thing that I like to do with my friends is, if I can have a happy hour with you,
obviously we're a man,
then we can do other things that are meaningful, not only to us, but to other people, that continues engagement. So let's take that happy hour out, and let's go ahead and do something productive, like maybe a poster making party, where we can take some time out and make posters for a march or protest that we're going to attend in the future, or even organizing one ourselves, kind of taking the action of expecting someone else to do it, and going as a community and doing it ourselves. So that's one thing I was thinking about.
I think about it like the Women's March started, right? Isn't the story famous now with one grandmother? Wasn't that what they called her? But like one woman who created a Facebook event, and that went viral. Now, don't set the bar so high for yourself, right? Like, if you have 3 people show up to your living room to have a discussion about how your local community can make sure that you're plugged into this stuff and you're making your voice heard, that's great too. You don't need 3 million people at a march.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's different organizations that are hosting events all the time in your local communities. And the best way to find out about those, I know I heard about Pantsuit Nation through a friend of the office. That was something in my network where someone put me onto. And that network has led me to my own Pantsuit Nation, both in my state and local community. So definitely using the information superhighway, if you will, and incorporating things that you want to do and making change as the way to get that information to do it.
And meetup.com is another great website to check out. It's somehow still like super relevant after all these years, from the Dean campaign using it like a million years ago.
So people over 35, like we're like, wait, what? I need a meetup.
So find your people by going to where you already are getting information, and be the one to start it, right? Light the spark that can start a flame or a fire or somewhere that metaphor.
That can light it up.
Right. Keep it lit. So there's other events, pardon me, that we want to also make sure you're aware of. If you go to the UnitedStatesOfWomen.org, you'll find a list of local events. It's a long one, too.
It is, and we definitely keep it updated.
Yeah,
so
great job.
if you wanted to look for something for tomorrow, you definitely can head to our website and check it out. There's definitely something somewhere near you.
Right, and women like yourselves want to get together, so use this chat functionality, too, to find other people in your area, meet up, and start making stuff happen.
And if you don't see it, create it.
Right. And that's what we've done at Bossed Up as well. We have a monthly Power Hour series that we're hosting in a bunch of different cities across the country. Thanks to my amazing team member, Helen, who's here. She's helped kick off our Ambassador program, which are our amazing grassroots organizers on behalf of Bossed Up, who are hosting free to attend Power Hours, which essentially combine the power of a happy hour with building your community and growing your influence and making connections that are lasting and worthwhile and grow your own power. Whether it's for your career, to sort of light up your job search, or to find new fierce friends who you can engage in activism with, regardless, doesn't matter. You can make it happen at Power Hour. So special shout out to our ambassadors in Chicago, Miami, New York, Manchester, New Hampshire, DC, right, South Florida, Miami area, and soon to come Atlanta and Boston, which are the cities we're also hosting Boston boot camps in this year. And hey, Caroline in Vancouver, all the way over in Vancouver. So check it out. We are an international endeavor, and we are so excited to be hosting those free to attend events that really do help women push the needle forward on their careers and lives.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can grow your influence without moving your feet if you need to, right? If you're not able to make time to host events or to go to attend events, you can always further support those who are doing that important work, like the United States of Women, who've already had over 3,000 individuals make donations, that you can join that cohort and fund the important training, programming, development work that they're providing for women across the country.
We definitely would love to have additional supporters, because the work is continuous. It doesn't stop. We moved the needle, but it hasn't moved all the way to the other side. So we have a lot of work to do, people.
Yeah, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to make sure that women's rights and interests are being voiced and defended, and that we're getting more women into this process.
Exactly.
All right, now this is a very personal slide for me. This feels really important. And this advice is step 4 or 5, and that is to buckle up, bosses. This journey that we have ahead of us is a long one. You can hear by my voice that I myself need to invest in a little self-care because I've been talking all weekend long at Boss Step Boot Camp.
And then she went to the march as well.
Oh yes, I did. Yeah, have to shout it out. So what I did in the meantime though is I took a long bubble bath with Epsom salts, and I totally got a nap in too. So let me just put a shout out for like not being hypocritical. Self-care matters, and this is that portion of the evening where I want to encourage us to think about where self-care fits into our own advocacy and activism plans. Microaggressions are especially important to consider for women of color, for minority women of all kinds. Those little sort of gnawing questions about whether you're qualified enough or whether you belong, that feeling of being an imposter, right? All of those little subtle microaggressions add up. They add up and they can really create what's known as racial discussion fatigue syndrome or racial fatigue syndrome. Those two things are complex beyond the point of being able to cover them in 30 seconds. So I've linked to 2 videos that do a really great job of further explaining and exploring those topics. But let me just acknowledge how intersectional self-care is as well, because some of us understandably get more, some of us have more privilege than others, and self-care in that same way can look really different for different women. And I want to just make it clear that women of color have to deal with a lot more stuff, right? Have to face a steeper climb than white women do, and of course than our male counterparts do. And if we don't acknowledge that important reality, then we are glossing over the other piece of this, which is it's important for all of us to really defend our sustainability, really protect our personal livelihood and our personal sustainability along the way.
Yeah, and I would just say as a woman of color who has definitely gone through the microaggressions, it's hard because what you feel is, oh no, I'm thinking too hard.
Yeah.
I gotta find a way to just figure it out. Like I know there was a viral photo from the march where there was a gentleman holding up a sign that says, "I'll do it," or "I guess I'll do it," and its signature was Black women, right? Because we will take on everything, but we don't realize how it's affecting us. Mm-hmm. We will sit into a boardroom or a staff meeting and someone says something that's really left or just disrespectful.
Right.
But we're like, well, if I say something back, then I'm the passive or I'm the aggressive Black woman.
Right.
It's okay. We have to be able to acknowledge that moment and then take care of ourselves so that way it doesn't blow up.
Right.
Into something where it's either health related or our job.
And it's like protecting yourself, right? Exactly. It's very fundamental. And I think a lot of us think about self-care as being like spa days and manicures, which that is so not what self-care looks like in most of our lives. We might not all be able to afford spa days and weekly manicures, but we can all afford to take a breath and close our eyes and tell ourselves that we are worthy and we are good and we are capable in the face of a world that rarely tells us that still isn't sure if it even likes women who are assertive and bossy and bossed up, and especially women of color, right?
Yeah, and I also say, like, for women of color, I know what I do with some of my friends, we have moments where we go and let it out.
Right.
It's only between us.
Cathartic. Right.
And you just let it out because why? We can't necessarily let it out anywhere else.
It's too long.
And you can't sit at home and yell at a wall because it's not going to give you any proper feedback. So sometimes it's great to build that network, what we talked about earlier, of people that can support you, that you also support and are part of your self-care as well.
And especially in the new normal that is our news cycle now. I mean, this last week, it takes a toll. It takes a toll even if you're not actually one who's being directly affected by the policies that are being implemented right now, but much more so, and even like more importantly, if you are someone who's directly affected. We all have to acknowledge that the game has changed. I've done over 20 Bossed Up boot camps over the past few years, and this weekend's boot camp felt palpably different. You could feel the anxiety and the tension and the stress in the room amongst a cohort of women who feel in danger. There is a very real and rightful amount of fear in our dialogue right now. And so it's more important than ever that we don't gloss over the importance of self-care and personal sustainability. And I want to ask you to share in the chat right now, what does self-care look like for you? If it is spa days and manicures, ain't no shame in that game. Go for it. But, what does that look like for you? For me, it means having some news blackouts sometimes, because I can't stay plugged in all the time and still feel happy, healthy, and whole. We've got a rule in my household, which is no political discussion during dinner. We basically talk about it all the other rest of the time. So during dinner, we focus on the positive things that happen to us in that day and don't talk about the nukes. So question for you is, what does that look like for you? What does self-care in this new era really mean for you as a woman, as a family member, as a friend? For a lot of us, taking quality time to be with friends, with family, to have fun, to have a regular amount of fitness in your life can be really important. And I'm not talking about like powerlifting for like vanity. I'm talking about running for sanity or yoga or whatever it might be, or a YouTube video for a mid-afternoon pep talk, whatever it might mean. And then for some reason, in the modern era of work, where we can work all the time, we can be plugged in forever and ever.
All day, every day.
Right? With this striving, this new expectation of hyper-productivity has, in my practice at Bossed Up, shown me that so many of us, in the quest for perfection and achievement and fulfilling our ambition, have kind of forgotten about basic needs. Things like food, regular meals, sleep, shelter, right? When those parts of your life, when those basic fundamental human needs are not being met, we can't fully be present and show up.
Got some great answers.
Yeah, so share some of that.
Okay. So Ellen says it depends. Sometimes it's a pot of tea, doing a sinus, or getting some sleep. The Weeks family taking Facebook breaks.
Nice.
Lighting some candles.
Hi,
watching
Wigs
something
family.
funny.
The candles are a great thing.
I know.
I
I'm
love
such
the
a
candles.
I'm a Yankee candle.
I'm a Target brand on sale candle.
Well, Christmas tree shop has jingles and roots. Okay.
Disconnecting from technology or working out.
Yes.
Popular. Taking a 4-day trip out of town.
Ooh, goals.
Yes.
Right?
Time for family in the boo.
Yes, boo.
Boundaries around sleep cycles.
Yeah.
Time for social media. Deleting social media from apps from phone.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't have Twitter on my
I've done that sometimes, but it never lasts.
Yeah.
So, like, awesome.
Being okay. I think this is really important. Being okay that you're not going to make every rally and protest.
Yes, that is a really important thing to acknowledge. And all of you are tuning in tonight to find out how you can get more engaged and more plugged in, but that doesn't mean you have to always be plugged in.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I think there's a book on the list called Bad Feminist, right?
Yes.
Roxanne Gray. So like Roxanne Gray, I'm not sure if I'm getting her last name right, but it's about acceptance of where you're at, right? And ambition and acceptance can actually peacefully coexist. So for more on that, I have a podcast interview I did with Caroline and Kristen, the amazing women who you might know from the How Stuff Works podcast, Stuff Mom Never Told You. They just launched a new initiative called Unladylike, so you're going to want to check them out. And I had a really great conversation with them about the martyr mindset, how we can push back on that thinking, invest in our personal sustainability, and prevent burnout from happening to you. And then I had to put a plug in here for this really powerful video. And yes, you're getting these slides, so I hope this doesn't overwhelm you, but you'll have lots of links and videos to check out. From Brene Brown. You might know her from her viral TEDx talk or TED Talk on the power of vulnerability. She has this great new video about how to hold these discussions in today's very vitriolic political era with people like kids and your loved ones and your family members with whom you may disagree. So she has some really great advice about being compassionate as we disagree and setting boundaries for yourself and for your family.
It's very important to do so.
Okay, we do have to speed it up, right? So this is our exciting last slide here to talk about the 5th step of 5 actions that you can take right now.
Invest in your leadership. So,
I love it.
yeah, so invest in your leadership. We definitely have numerous organizations listed, and there was a New York Times quote, and I'll just go ahead and read it.
Yeah, do it.
That people are able to read, but sometimes when you put a little behind it, people accept it more. They also noted that the march itself brought to prominence a multiracial, younger generation of potential leaders. The rank and file of women's movement has not looked like leadership for a long time. And that was by Miss Crenshaw from the New York Times. And basically, it's our turn. This is our time. Like, we all have a responsibility to each other to get out there and help the movement.
Yeah.
Whatever that movement that you feel works best for you. And there's different organizations and programs out here. And there's just a few listed here, like Bossin Bootcamp, which, again, is amazing. The assertive communication, I cannot just say enough about it. Because I think that's one thing that many women, regardless of age, have a tough time dealing with. And Boss Up Bootcamp definitely addresses a lot of those issues.
And one thing I want to just add, if I might, is that we marched. Now it's time for us to lead.
Yeah.
So if you've been waiting to take the lead, start an organization, join a campaign, join the fight, now is the time to get a little selfish. And I'm going to be radical here and say, yeah, it's okay for you to be selfish right now in the quest of this movement, right? And as a part of joining this movement, it's time for you to invest in your training and development, in your potential as a leader. It's time to say that I'm gonna make this happen for me. I'm gonna go to some of these programs or organizations. I'm gonna go seek out the expert guidance and training that comes with things like Vote, Run, Lead, Emilie's List, the United States of Women, Wellstone Action, to learn how to be a better organizer, to learn how to be a more effective leader, to learn how to be a boss, if that's what you're looking for. So Renee and I have some exciting local programming that's coming to you very soon as a part of the United States of Women. But we can't tell you about that just yet, so we're gonna have to let you hang in suspense for just a little while longer. Not long, we promise.
And when you hear about it, you're gonna be excited, and we definitely want people to not only come to United States Women stuff, but definitely go to Bossin, go to our other organizations that are out there who are doing amazing work in different spheres, because there's different avenues to get to the same goal, and we all don't have to necessarily take that same avenue. Take a different street.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, hike your own hike, right? So if you have an organization that's interested in teaming up with us too, Bossed Up brings a lot of our assertive communication training, burnout prevention training, all kinds of good stuff to different companies and campuses and organizations. So if you're really down for the cause and you want to be a part of what we're doing at Bossed Up or what any of these great organizations are doing, and you are with an organization who wants to also align your values with us, who have aligned values, you want to take collective action with us, head over to bossedup.org right now. You'll find a For Companies page that has more details on our programming for organizations and companies and nonprofits and schools and all kinds of cool stuff that we're doing.
And if you have Twitter, at USO Women, that's USOWOMEN. On Twitter, Instagram, just go to our Facebook page, and you definitely can connect with us there. And we definitely will be in communication with you.
Yeah, I think it's on here. Yes, okay. Yeah. So let go, right? The moral of the story is we're fired up, we marched, we're getting organized. It's time to go. So tell us what questions you have, ask away, what came up for you tonight, what did we miss? You're gonna get a survey, remember? You're gonna get the replay to share. We'll ask that you do so. And keep in touch with us. We'll definitely be keeping in touch with you. And like Renee and I have been saying, in just a couple of weeks, you're going to have more details on how the United States of Women is bringing local programming across the country this year.
And don't forget our week of action.
Yeah, make that happen.
Yes.
So go to the site and sign up now.
Yes, sign up.
Questions coming in. Ooh, I'm liking what I'm seeing on Twitter. Do we have any that you want to address right now that come in throughout the course of the evening?
Kylie from Iowa.
Hey, Iowa, Midwest.
Hey, Kylie. She said she'd love to flee to the liberal cities on the coast, but she also feels the need to stay in the Midwest and build a movement and educate. Any tips?
Ooh, this is a great question.
Well, United States Women is a nonpartisan organization, but what I will say though is there are definitely local organizations within Iowa that you definitely can work with that support some of the ideologies you may have.
Right.
So I think what you should definitely do, and this is just my opinion, is look at some of the organizations there in Iowa, and if you don't see anything that reflects what you want, it's what we talked about today. Then create it. You know, you are the best leader for whatever the cause may be that's true to your heart.
This is a tough question. I think of this as like a career question too, because over the course of my career, especially my early career in politics, I grew up in Connecticut, just outside of Hartford, 860 represent, right? And I worked with the Connecticut Democratic Party. I worked on Connecticut-based congressional campaigns. I went to school over in Rhode Island, not very far away, not much, like the size of those two states is pretty comparable, and it's itty-bitty. And I was given this huge opportunity in Rhode Island to be a big fish in a small but wonderful, awesome pond. And so I think there's definitely a benefit to your career in terms of having a big impact in a smaller sphere. And then there's also a different kind of experience in coming to a big city and being a small fish, or what? Yeah, small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
So I found it very beneficial to actually start out in a bigger role, but in a smaller sphere, and then come to the big city with that experience. I felt like there was an element of cutting my teeth in the field work. You've got to learn how to be a good field organizer, or at least in my instance, before I was equipped to start my own company, before I was equipped to come to DC and be a consultant. And the reason I know that, Kylie, is because I tried to come to DC straight out of college. I took a 3-month internship with my dream job. I can't tell you it, but this amazing world-renowned digital strategy firm that had just helped President Obama get elected. I was really interested in becoming a digital strategist and consultant in politics. And I sat in an air-conditioned office from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, in a button-up shirt at 21 years old. 22, and I didn't feel like I was having any impact at all. So I said, this isn't working for me. They said, this isn't working for me either. and then I didn't cut it in DC right out of college. So I went back to Rhode Island, and along the way, I was given this huge opportunity to become a state director in a single staff state. So it was like big title, no staff. But I'm really grateful for the experience that I gained in that process, because I was able to really see my impact. And you have to know yourself, Kylie, what is going to leave you feeling satisfied over the long term. And for 3 years, my impact in Rhode Island was something I was really proud of. I got to work with those most amazing volunteers. We built an organization out of scratch, basically. I learned a lot of tough lessons, but I was ready to come back to a bigger city after feeling like I had a really great impact there and didn't have the opportunities at that point to move ahead. So Kylie, it's tough. You're not going to abandon your hometown if you move to a liberal city, but you got to do what's right for you. And there's no saying that it's a forever choice, right? So you can come to a city, try it on for size, accelerate your career, accelerate your impact, and then bring what you learned home. I think most major leaders in the world have done that, right? They don't forget where they come from. I haven't forgotten where I come from.
Yeah, just coming from a small Midwest town, I get it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us that want to flee and never return because it's still the same as it looked when I was 4 years old, right? So, or it actually has dilapidated because the local businesses that were there are gone. There's no future growth or opportunities for career. So I get it, but cool. It's definitely making sure that you do what's right for you, and sometimes just doing a little educating of what's there that can help you kind of fulfill both of those worlds.
I think they're both important. Yeah. I think we need young, hungry leaders to come to the big city, and I think we need young, hungry leaders to stay in their small towns. And you have to figure out what's right for you. Alex Moore graduated in my class of Brown in '09, and he was telling everybody I think it was the Young Democrats group we were in together, I'm gonna run for mayor in my hometown. I'm like, sure you will, Alex, okay. And what does he do? The next year he ups and becomes the youngest mayor in the United States, and he's in Holyoke, Massachusetts, just crushing it for the last 10 years. And I'm just astounded that he took what he learned and he immediately applied it to his hometown, which is totally a path that you can take. And I wish more young women, especially, had the guts to say, I belong in this position of leadership. But
yeah,
you gotta do what's right for you, otherwise it won't be sustainable. We live our lives trying to please everyone else around us for so long, and then we wonder why we burn out.
Do what's right for you.
Yeah.
So we have another question about how to plan. How can I plan my days to be most effective so I can set a schedule and get specific tasks done?
Oh, great question. And so this sounds like a personal productivity question, but I also want to take it as an activism question.
Okay.
So you're a busy boss lady. You got a lot to do to begin with, right? You've got a job. You've got stuff going on at home. How do I make time for activism in my life or anything else in my life? Personal productivity. I love these questions. There's a lot of data on this. There's a lot of research on this. Do you want to share your experience?
Yeah.
Or?
I would say for me, and I can, of
Yeah.
course, talk from my spectrum. I believe in putting things on paper.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because when I write it down or I see it on my calendar, I'm able to ensure the priority it serves in my life.
Yeah.
I feel like when you put something on your calendar, you have a hold. Like hold for gym, guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to hold for the gym.
Right.
You're going to figure out, oh, I can work another 3-4 hours, or I have to do X, Y, Z, and I don't have time to do any activism. Well, it's all about making sure that when you do your self-care, you're able to figure out what works best for you,
right.
and asking yourself, what am I getting out of the situation of doing this or not doing this? Yeah. And putting a priority to it. I think a lot of times we want to put everything on our shoulders, but we don't prioritize for how it will affect us.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of busy work that actually gets us nowhere.
Totally.
So that's what I would do, but
I love that. I love that. I have 3 pieces of advice on this. One, ironically, is at the start of every day, I like to write down the top 3 things that are most important that day. And even better, I like to do that the day before. So if I can end my work day, whenever that is, by saying, okay, here are the 3 things I have to get done tomorrow to stay on track. And hopefully those 3 things build into your week, build into your month, build into your year. The other thing, the second piece of advice is to know when to pulse between focus and renewal. There's a lot of interesting research that shows that the human brain operates at intervals of 90 minutes. For 90 minutes, you can be totally in flow. You're doing your work, you're crushing it at whatever you're crushing at. You're in the gym, you're like putting in those hours, or you're really immersed in a family gathering. Right around 90 minutes is when your brain is ready to switch it up, to take a break, to do something different. So whether you set a timer like every morning when you get into work, 90 minutes, this is what I'm gonna focus on, and then I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna walk around, I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna have a coffee, I'm gonna take a lap around the building, whatever it might be. When you pulse between intervals of intense focus and then rest and deep renewal and relaxation, you're actually supposed to be more productive. That's what energy experts say. At least. I found it to be true. I take a lot of breaks.
breaks are good.
Breaks are good.
Also, just to be mindful, I've had jobs where if I got up from a desk and walked, what are you doing?
Right.
And so it also is, what can I do as well within my day if I have those kind of parameters that will help me, because not every employer is cool. Yeah. So some employers are like, if you're away from your desk, then you're not working.
You're wasting our money.
Exactly. Or you're not smart enough, or you need to go figure something else out. Like, you're making this about you, and you're like, I just really need to go to the bathroom.
I'm so glad you said that.
There are employers who do that. So
I've had like a meltdown in the bathroom on occasion. You know what I mean? Like, I think everyone has their like Alana Glazer in Broad City like sleeps in the bathroom. But yes, I think that's a valid point. Sometimes they need to go to like watch cute animal videos on YouTube, or like take a mindful moment of just like consuming happy things on the internet too.
Yeah.
That's pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So then the third thing is this broad idea of over time. What's the name of this person who wrote that question? Do you know?
I only have her email.
Okay. So over time, I think it's our job as human beings to get a little bit better every year at discerning and closing, actually not discerning, but closing the gap between what we think we can accomplish and what we actually can accomplish in a single 24-hour period. 5 years ago even, the difference between those two realities was enormous, right? Like I thought I could accomplish all of this, so when I accomplished this much, I felt like a big failure.
Yeah, you felt defeated.
Right. Now I'm getting better and better and better at really understanding and bringing those two realities together.
Yeah.
So that dissonance between my own expectations of myself and the compassion I can have towards myself means I feel less guilty and crappy all the time. And that's good. Guilt is bad for your motivation. Guilt is a productivity killer. So I think there's just it's about pragmatism and realism, not unbridled ambition.
Agreed. There has to be a balance, definitely.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah.
Do we have any more coming in? Feel free to ask away. Ask now or forever hold your peace. And I'll be answering questions on Twitter as well. So keep in touch with us at Bossin.org or Emilie Aries, USO Women, or R.Johnson.
That's me.
And I want to thank you all so much for making tonight possible. I want to thank Renee,
Emily,
for making this conversation possible. I and Boston are so excited to team up with you and the whole United States of Women team. And stay tuned, bosses, because we will be announcing some really exciting big things in the not too distant future about how you can join us at events across the country this coming year. Sound good?
Sounds amazing to me.
All right, ladies.
Don't forget to visit USO Women.
And keep Bossin well beyond the march. We know we're all in this for the long haul, and I thank you so much for taking the time to share your evening with us. Have a good night and keep Bossin. Bye, everybody.
Bye.